Oh, hey there, traveler. Back for more of my history-packed stories, huh? Have a seat by the fire and warm up a bit. Tonight, I'm taking you on a journey through the dusty pages of human history. But don't worry, this won't be some boring history lesson. Nope, what you're about to hear will both captivate and make you think. Ready for it? We're traveling back about 1200 years to Gobekli Tepe. This place is like a temple of ancient wisdom, hidden in the mists of time. We're talking about an era before humans even figured out farming, when they were already shaping stones. How were these massive stones moved back then? Who built them? And more importantly, why? Tonight, we're diving into these mysteries, but watch out. This story isn't just about digging into history. It's about challenging your imagination and beliefs too. So, dim the lights, open your ears, and let's uncover the secrets of Gobekli Tepe together. Ah, kid, time is like a river, carrying countless stories away in its current. But every now and then a few manage to rise to the surface, even after thousands of years. The story I'm about to tell you is one of those mysteries that finally saw the light of day. The year was 1994. A young German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt set foot on the scorching soil of Şanlıurfa, Turkey. He wasn't looking for a temple, just some archaeological clues, simple stone artifacts from ancient times. But fate had a different plan and cast him as the lead in a completely unexpected story. It all started when a farmer plowing his field stumbled across a massive stone buried in the ground. Imagine that, just an ordinary day. And beneath his feet lay a secret thousands of years old. The farmer thought it was just another big rock, but Schmidt knew at first glance it was anything but ordinary. That stone was a missing piece of the great puzzle we call history, the first clue leading to Gobekli Tepe. When Schmidt and his team started excavating, what they found was mind-blowing. Each stone they unearthed wasn't just a structure, it told a story. Massive stone pillars arranged in circular patterns, carved with intricate reliefs. But the most shocking discovery? The age of these structures. Schmidt's findings revealed that Gobekli Tepe was built around 1200 years ago, long before humanity had even discovered farming. This wasn't just another archaeological dig, it was a brand new prologue to human history. People had to rethink everything they thought they knew about the beginnings of civilization. Gobekli Tepe wasn't just a site, it was a turning point, a silent cry from an ancient era, a story told in the language of stone. Ah, kid, when I think about it, I can't help but wonder about the hands that touched those stones and the minds that envisioned this temple. What kind of world did they believe in? But hold on, we're just getting started. This story is only beginning, kid. To really grasp the story of Gobekli Tepe, you first need to understand the land it's rooted in, the place where this mysterious temple came to life. After all, every great story is tied to the setting that shapes it, right? Gobekli Tepe is perched on a hill in southeastern Turkey, near the fertile lands of Şanlıurfa. Picture it, a place where the sky seems endless, and the horizon stretches forever. Each morning, the sun rises over this ancient hill, and each evening it sets beneath a fiery red sky. These lands have been home not just to humans, but to time itself. This region is part of the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of life and civilization. For thousands of years, these lands, nourished by rivers and blessed with fertile soil, have been a haven for humanity. But what makes Gobekli Tepe special isn't just its geography. No, the real magic lies in the thousands of years of secrets buried beneath this hill. The construction of Gobekli Tepe dates back to between 9,600 and 8,000 BCE. Now those numbers might not mean much at first glance, but think about it. This site is 7,000 years older than Stonehenge, and 6,000 years older than the Egyptian pyramids. It was built at a time when people hadn't even discovered farming or fully settled into permanent communities. This fact alone makes us question the pages of history we thought we knew so well. Remember, this was the Neolithic era. People were still hunter-gatherers, moving from place to place, struggling against the harshness of nature. Yet Gobekli Tepe tells us something more. These people weren't just surviving, they were coming together, cooperating, and creating something bigger than themselves. A belief system, a sense of purpose. Now imagine this. For millions of years, humans roamed the earth, but here, for the first time, they gathered to erect massive stone pillars and build a structure. These weren't just piles of rock. They were reflections of their thoughts, beliefs, and culture. The carvings on the pillars, animals, symbols, and other figures are like windows into the spiritual world of these early humans. Sometimes I wonder about the people who built Gobekli Tepe. What kind of skies did they gaze at? Maybe we've looked at the same stars, felt the same winds, but their hands created something we can hardly imagine. I pray for every rainstorm on their way to getting back to their village. It's what nature should do if we do it right. The location and history of Gobekli Tepe have fascinated not just archaeologists, but all of humanity. It challenges us to question both our past and our present. This place isn't just an archaeological site. It's one of the starting points of human history, a place to reflect on what it means to be human. Our story is just beginning, so what do you say we take a closer look at those ancient stones? Let's see what else they have to tell us. The biggest mystery of Gobekli Tepe might just lie within the stones themselves. When I first imagined seeing them, because of course I've only seen them in my mind's eye, they looked like guardians to me, silent sentinels of ancient times. What I'm about to share with you are the stories these stones carry. The most striking feature of Gobekli Tepe is its T-shaped stone pillars. These pillars stand between 16 to 23 feet tall and weigh several tons. Now pause and think about that. How did people of that time, without even knowing the wheel, carve these massive stones, transport them, and set them up with such precision? That's a puzzle we still haven't solved. But these pillars aren't just impressive because of their size. They're mesmerizing because of the intricate carvings etched onto their surfaces. Foxes, snakes, vultures, and other animal figures are depicted in relief. Each carving feels like a message, a glimpse into the world of that time. But what do these symbols mean? That's a question still hidden within the stones. Now close your eyes and imagine it. Stone carvers working tirelessly with primitive tools. Maybe they used obsidian knives or hardened stone fragments. For hours, days, maybe even months, they chipped away, carving these massive pillars. Every detail you see on those stones today is a testament to their patience and craftsmanship. But Gobekli Tepe's architectural brilliance isn't just about the carvings. The layout of the site tells us this was more than just a physical structure. It was a spiritual space. The pillars are arranged in circular formations, with two larger pillars standing at the center, as if they represent the heart of this ancient temple. Perhaps people gathered here to pray, to perform rituals, or to share moments of connection. There's something else about these T-shaped pillars, kid. Their shapes resemble human figures. Some believe the pillars represent humans, standing upright like figures frozen in time. On some of the stones you can even see carved hands and belts. If you look closely enough, these stones don't feel like mere objects. They seem alive. Perhaps they carry the spirits of the past within them. The techniques used to construct Gobekli Tepe are another enigma. These massive stones were transported from nearby quarries to the site. But how? Was it sheer manpower? Or did the people of that time possess knowledge or technology we've yet to uncover? These are the questions archaeologists and historians are still trying to answer. But every stone, every carving, every circular arrangement proves that this ancient society wasn't just strong, they were ingenious. kid, when I think about these stones, I feel the traces of the hands that shape them. They don't just show us their world, they remind us what it means to be human. Creativity, faith, perseverance. Those are the true pillars of Göbekli Tepe. But our story isn't over yet. We're going deeper. Together, we'll keep unraveling the secrets hidden among these stones. All right, kid, let me take you deeper into these ancient lands. The stones at the heart of Göbekli Tepe aren't just building materials. They're messages carried across time. So, what are these messages trying to tell us? To answer that, we need to take a closer look at the discoveries. The carvings on Göbekli Tepe's pillars are the key to understanding the spirit of this temple. The most striking ones are the animal reliefs. Foxes, snakes, scorpions, wild boars, all carefully etched into the stone. Think about it. To the people of that time, these animals weren't just creatures to hunt. They must have held sacred meanings. When you see these animal figures, you can't help but wonder, why these animals? Why depict them this way? Some say these carvings represent the mythology and beliefs of that era. Maybe Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a temple. Maybe it was also a reflection of their struggle for survival and their respect for nature. Each snake, each scorpion might have been a protector or a warning. These figures symbolize the deep connection those people had with the natural world. But Göbekli Tepe isn't just about the carvings. The excavations also uncovered tools and stones. Think about it. These people didn't have metal yet. All they had were stone, obsidian, and bone. And with those simple tools, they carved massive pillars and transported them. That alone shows the brilliance of the human mind. Some of the tools found at the site seem to have been used to create the intricate carvings on the pillars. Stone cutters, polishing tools, scrapers. Each one is a testament to the patience and skill of these ancient artisans. Imagine this, they weren't just working to survive, they were creating, leaving a legacy. Among the stones, there's something else that stands out. The way they're arranged. Some stones gain meaning not just from the carvings, but from their positions. These stones weren't just art, they were part of rituals. Maybe people gathered around them, singing, praying, or performing sacred ceremonies. And then there are the burials, kid. Beneath some of the stones, human bones have been found. This hints that Göbekli Tepe might have been more than just a temple. It could have been a burial ground too, who knows? Maybe it was a place to honor the spirits of the dead. These carvings and artifacts don't just tell us about their daily lives, they reveal their souls. They seem to say, we were here, we lived, we believed, and we created. But this is only the beginning. To truly grasp the meaning behind these animal figures and tools, there's more of the story to uncover. If you're ready to dive even deeper, let's keep going. Kid, the greatest mystery about Göbekli Tepe is why it was built. Even today, no one has a definitive answer to that question. But stop and think for a moment. Why would people living in such harsh conditions back then go through the trouble of constructing something so massive? Was Göbekli Tepe a temple? Or maybe a social hub? Let's dig a little deeper into these questions. First, when you look at the architecture and layout of Göbekli Tepe, it's clear this wasn't just some ordinary settlement. There's no evidence that people actually lived there. No signs of houses, no traces of everyday life. This suggests Göbekli Tepe served a completely different purpose. Some researchers believe Göbekli Tepe was a temple. Like today's places of worship, it could have been a gathering spot for rituals, prayers, and offerings to deities. If you pay attention to the animal carvings on the stones, foxes, snakes, vultures, it makes this theory even more compelling. Were these animals merely symbols, or were they representations of divine beings people worshipped? Some suggest that these carvings are tied to the cycle of life and death. Vultures, for example, symbolize death in many ancient societies. Maybe this was a place where people gathered to honor their dead. Could Göbekli Tepe have been a gateway where souls were sent off from this world to the next? But we shouldn't get too attached to this idea. Other archaeologists argue that Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a temple, but also a social hub. Think about it, kid. People living a hunter-gatherer lifestyle suddenly come together, build massive stone structures, and establish some form of organization. Göbekli Tepe could have been a meeting point, not just for spiritual reasons, but for sharing knowledge, trading, and strengthening social bonds. This theory is backed by the sheer effort it took to construct the site. Moving, carving, and erecting those massive stones wasn't something one person or even a small group could accomplish. It required a significant level of collaboration, suggesting that the people who built Göbekli Tepe came together not just for spiritual reasons, but to foster a sense of community. But maybe, kid, these two ideas aren't mutually exclusive. What if Göbekli Tepe was both a temple and a social hub? A place where people not only prayed to their gods, but also built a sense of collective identity. Imagine that as they constructed this site, they weren't just moving stones. They were shaping a culture, a belief system, and a community. The rituals and spiritual significance of Göbekli Tepe run deep. The ceremonies performed there might not have been solely religious acts, but also integral to maintaining social order. Maybe people gathered here to sing, dance, and pay homage to the forces of nature, strengthening their bonds around these towering stones. We may never know Göbekli Tepe's true purpose, kid, but one thing is clear. This place was one of humanity's first great milestones. It was a story of belief, unity, and creativity etched into stone. And that story isn't just about Göbekli Tepe, it's about all of us. Kiddo. The Neolithic Age was a turning point in human history, but Göbekli Tepe's place in that era is like a riddle that flips everything we thought we knew upside down. Now close your eyes and imagine a world thousands of years ago, before farming was even invented, when humanity lived as hunter-gatherers. That's when Göbekli Tepe emerged, challenging everything we thought we understood about that time. Back then, people didn't have the comforts of modern life. To survive and make sense of the world around them, they lived as part of nature. They hunted, gathered plants, and moved from place to place. There were no permanent settlements because they only stayed where food was available, moving on when resources ran out. So, how did these nomadic people manage to build something as massive as Göbekli Tepe? Think about it, kid. These were Stone Age people. They didn't have modern tools or equipment, yet they carved and erected the colossal T-shaped pillars of Göbekli Tepe. Each pillar weighs dozens of tons. Moving, cutting, and carving these stones with the limited tools they had back then. Can you imagine how tough that must have been? The level of organization and manpower it took to build this place has forced us to rethink what we know about these people. They came together, divided tasks, and showed incredible teamwork. The construction of Göbekli Tepe proves that humans weren't just surviving. They were forming social bonds and uniting for a common goal. But stop and ask yourself this, kid. Why? Why would these people, instead of spending all their time hunting and gathering to survive, put so much effort into building something this grand? The answer to that question holds the key to Göbekli Tepe's unique place in human history. Until Göbekli Tepe was discovered, it was believed that the agricultural revolution was what transformed human society. Farming allowed people to settle down, build villages, and eventually create civilizations. But Göbekli Tepe challenges this idea. It was built before farming even existed. People weren't planting crops, domesticating animals, or living in permanent homes yet. Could this mean that shared beliefs, rituals, and a sense of community brought people together even before agriculture did? Göbekli Tepe shows just how deeply rooted human spirituality is. Maybe these people gathered there to give thanks for the animals they hunted and the plants they gathered. Maybe they performed rituals to appease the forces of nature or seek protection. But we have to remember that this site wasn't just a place of worship. It was a reflection of its time. Göbekli Tepe doesn't just represent humanity's struggle with nature. It also symbolizes the desire to come together, to build a community, and to achieve great things as a group. Kid, Göbekli Tepe teaches us this. Even at the dawn of our journey, humanity was already dreaming big and finding the courage and intelligence to turn those dreams into reality. This place wasn't just the end of one chapter, it was the beginning of another. Here, humanity built something extraordinary, but most importantly, they built themselves. Göbekli Tepe is a whisper from the past. Understand us, it says. We laid the foundations for what you've become today. Oh, kid. Göbekli Tepe isn't just a structure made of stones and pillars. It's a testament to the spirit of an era, a glimpse into how people learned to live together and act with a shared sense of purpose. This temple wasn't just a place of worship for the surrounding communities. It was a meeting point, a teacher, a guide. Now imagine, picture the hunter-gatherer groups in the area. The region around Göbekli Tepe was rich in natural resources at the time. There were animals to hunt, plants to gather, but even with this abundance, these people were still nomadic, always on the move. So what brought them here? What made them gather around this temple? Göbekli Tepe must have acted as a magnet for the surrounding communities. This place didn't just unite people through their shared beliefs. It taught them how to communicate, work together, and achieve common goals. Those massive stone pillars weren't just raised through physical strength. They stood as a result of collective effort and cooperation between groups. Building a temple like this required hundreds, maybe even thousands of people to come together. Everyone had a role to play. Some carved the stones, others carried them, and a few managed the process. This kind of collaboration laid the foundation for the first organized societies. Göbekli Tepe became a sort of gravitational center, pulling people together and maybe even paving the way for the birth of modern civilizations. But kid, Göbekli Tepe's influence wasn't just about physical cooperation. This temple also shaped the cultural lives of those communities. Just think about it. People would gather here, perform rituals, share stories, maybe even dance. These moments became embedded in the collective memory, passed down from generation to generation. Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a structure, it was a vault of shared experiences. At this point of several hundred years, Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a structure, it was a vault of shared experiences. Communities that gathered around this center may have developed a common identity. The animal carvings on Göbekli Tepe's pillars might have been their symbols. More than just representations of nature, these carvings could have been markers of who they were and where they belonged. The construction of Göbekli Tepe shows that humanity isn't only about fulfilling physical needs. People didn't just focus on feeding themselves. They also needed to believe in something, to belong to a community, to make sense of their existence. This structure reflects those deeper human desires. Kid, Göbekli Tepe teaches us one big lesson. Humans aren't strong on their own, but together, driven by shared beliefs and dreams, they can move mountains, raise stones to the sky. Look at those pillars and remember this. Humanity discovered the power of togetherness right here. And those pillars, they're still standing. Raised thousands of years ago, they're still trying to tell us something today. If you're willing to listen, the silence of Göbekli Tepe has a lot to say. Kid, Göbekli Tepe isn't just a place where stones, pillars, and carvings tell stories. It's also one of the greatest mysteries of modern science and archaeology. Every little detail found on this sacred hill has made us question what we thought we knew about human history. Take the age of this structure, for instance. It dates back to around 9,600 BCE up until roughly 8,000 BCE. Do you know what that means? It's older than the agricultural revolution. Back then, people hadn't even figured out farming or domesticated animals yet. So how did they manage to build something this complex? That's the million-dollar question scientists are trying to answer. Some believe Gobekli Tepe marks a technological revolution. Sure, these people were living as hunter-gatherers, but the craftsmanship they showcased is mind-blowing. We're talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of tons of stone pillars that were carved and erected. But here's the kicker. There's no evidence that the tools we think existed back then could have handled a project like this. Some researchers even suggest that the techniques they used to carve and move these stones were way more advanced than we've given them credit for. And it's not just about the construction process, kid. The bigger question is why they put in so much effort. I mean, all that work for such an elaborate structure. What was the point? That's where another mystery comes into play. Gobekli Tepe wasn't just built. It was deliberately buried. Yeah, you heard that right. After centuries of rituals, the site was intentionally covered with dirt by the very people who used it. Now think about it. Why would anyone go through all the trouble of building something so magnificent only to bury it? Some scientists think the burial was a way to preserve the site. Maybe Gobekli Tepe was so sacred to these people that, once it had served its purpose, they wanted to protect it from harm. Others propose it could have been a reaction to a disaster. Who knows? Maybe they buried it as a symbolic gesture, marking the end of an era. Then there's another theory, environmental changes. Some archaeologists are looking for clues that the climate may have shifted, forcing people to abandon the site. Could the burial have been humanity's way of bowing to nature's power? Or, on the flip side, was it a deliberate act to close a chapter in their lives? Scientists are still working hard to answer these questions. They're studying the stones, trying to figure out where they came from, how they were moved, and even what the carvings on them mean. But no matter how deep they dig, Gobekli Tepe keeps its secrets. And kid, that's the beauty of science. The questions never stop, and every answer sparks new mysteries. Gobekli Tepe challenges not just our understanding of the past, but also our curiosity and our drive to learn. That challenge, etched into stone thousands of years ago, is still here, waiting for us to unravel it. Well, kiddo, when you look at the stones of Gobekli Tepe, you're not just seeing carved figures. They're traces of the souls, beliefs, fears, and hopes of the people who once lived here. Each stone, each carving, carries a message from thousands of years ago. And deciphering those messages? That's one of history's deepest mysteries. When you see the animal figures etched into these pillars, lions, snakes, foxes, birds, what do you think they mean? They're symbols, but they're not just representations of the animals themselves. Archaeologists believe these figures hint at the mythological beliefs or even cosmological views of the people from that time. Take the snake, for instance. In many cultures, snakes symbolize both fear and wisdom. Do the snakes at Gobekli Tepe represent some belief tied to the underworld? Or were they seen as a symbol of power and protection? Some researchers argue they might carry deeper meanings, like fertility or the cycle of life and death. And what about the birds? Specifically the vultures often seen at Gobekli Tepe. In many ancient cultures, vultures symbolized the soul's ascent to the heavens. For the people of that time, death wasn't the end, it was a transition. The rituals at Gobekli Tepe might have been a way to celebrate or ease that passage. These pillars weren't just stones, they were like gateways for the soul. There are so many theories about the role of Gobekli Tepe in rituals. Some believe it was a type of temple, where people paused their hunter-gatherer lifestyles to gather, perform rituals, and perhaps offer thanks to their gods or nature. But it wasn't just a place of worship. Gobekli Tepe was a symbol of coming together and creating a shared identity. Think about it, kiddo. This was possibly the first time humans gathered not just to survive, but to find meaning. Gobekli Tepe carries a universal message. Humanity has always searched for the meaning of existence, carving that quest into stones, stories, and symbols. One theory suggests that Göbekli Tepe represented a center of the world for those people. Every culture has its sacred spots, places that represent the center of their universe. Göbekli Tepe might have been just that. People believed they could connect with the forces of nature here, maybe even communicate with the stars. And as for the mythological meanings behind the figures, these stones don't just reflect their physical world, they reflect their imagination. Each animal here could be part of a larger myth. Perhaps these figures represented their gods, or were tied to their spiritual beliefs. The symbolic meaning of Göbekli Tepe shows that it's not just a pile of stones, it's a window into humanity's deepest thoughts. These stones whisper stories in their silence. If you listen closely, you'll hear their voices and feel the weight of their meaning. And when you do, you'll truly understand why Göbekli Tepe is so important to us all. And so, we've reached the end of the incredible story hidden within the stones of Göbekli Tepe, kid. But this isn't the end of history. It's a new beginning, one where history is being rewritten. Göbekli Tepe isn't just an ancient structure. It's a turning point, a challenge to everything we thought we knew about humanity's past. Think about it. Just a few decades ago, the story of human history began with the agricultural revolution. People settled down, farmed the land, and then built communities. But Göbekli Tepe flips that narrative on its head. It shows us that people came together for a common purpose and built something extraordinary long before farming even existed. Understanding this place reshapes how we see human history. Göbekli Tepe tells us that survival wasn't the only driving force for early humans. Seeking meaning together was just as important. These stones are symbols of the connection those people had with nature, the universe, and each other. And today, we're trying to unravel that connection. But the thing is, we haven't unlocked all of Göbekli Tepe's secrets yet. There are still parts of it buried underground waiting to be discovered. We still don't fully understand what these stones represent, what rituals took place here, or why it was deliberately buried after all that effort. Future excavations might shed more light on these mysteries. Advances in technology and research could reveal truths we can't even imagine yet. And here's a question I can't help but ask. Will we ever fully solve the mysteries of Göbekli Tepe? Or will its true meaning remain forever hidden in those stones? That's the enigma. But maybe, just maybe, finding all the answers isn't what matters. The search itself might be the point. Because Göbekli Tepe isn't just about the past, it's about how we connect to that past. Göbekli Tepe reminds us of humanity's incredible creative spirit. And that creativity is what unites us all. From the animal carvings etched into the stones to the monumental pillars that were raised, it's all part of a shared dream of a community. Here, in the shadow of Göbekli Tepe, we see history being rewritten. And this story isn't just about the past, it's about who we are. So kid, listen to the whispers of these stones and carry this story forward into the future. Until the next tale, in another time and place, take care for now. Ekon. All life comes to an end sometime.